hello everyone, and welcome to the EGX Arena, powered by Virgin Media, Almost Pro 5K here on iRacing. My name is Connery Maddock. I'll be joined by the wonderful, smileable Paul Smith for the first portion of this broadcast. First up, we have the EU congregation taking themselves to the track here in the iRacing Almost Pro 5K. But before we get into the details here, Paul, I gotta say, it's good to be back here on the iRacing, our iRacing related streams and the top level competition here on iRacing.
Absolutely, and these drivers, of course, are competing for a fair decent amount of money as well, so they're going to be going for prizes. It's all on the line here today, and what's better than the Formula V around Laguna Seca? It's a great combination of car and track.
And it's a combination of car and track that you can try immediately if you sign up to iRacing. That's the best thing. These guys didn't have to pay for any extra content to try and compete here today. They just had the Formula V, they had Laguna Seca already on their accounts, and they're able to go out there racing. So yeah, that's one of those things that you do get when you sign up for iRacing. But let's have a look at where we are going to be competing here today in this particular competition. It's a very, very sunny Laguna Seca in California, Paul.
Yeah, Weathertech Raceway, Laguna Seca, it's one of those classic circuits in North America in California. And, well, you get that run down to turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin. That's a great overtaking spot right there. Work your way up the hill. You'll see the undulations very shortly indeed. So that world-famous corkscrew, it's got a 4-story drop. That's how steep that is. Look at that elevation change right there. The top of the track is right there at the top of the corkscrew, and then it plunges downhill. It really is like a roller coaster. Tremendous circuit, produced some classic action in the past as well. And we're going to see some brilliant action here today with these cars as well.
Yeah, I think so too. I've seen these cars race in the top splits while we've, when they've been doing the official iRacing series that anyone can race in, from rookies all the way up into Pro and A licenses. These guys are not afraid to go wheel to wheel in these cars, and well, you don't really have any other option in these cars. You can't exactly just give someone the bumper or the door. So wheels it's going to be, but yeah, I certainly can't wait to get this event started. Just to recap what the format of the event is, well, we'll get ourselves a couple of heat races in, 2 heat races to be exact, consisting of a maximum 15 cars for 15 minutes. The top 6 in each race will advance themselves to the feature event at the very end. But if you are not in those top 6 spots, then you will get yourself one last chance to get yourself into that final race to compete for all of that prize money. The top 6 in that last chance qualifier get themselves transferred over into the feature event. So no prizes given for heat races, no prizes given for last chance qualifier. You have to be in that final if you want a bit of the dollar.
And it's a brilliant car to be doing this. Heat racing and iRacing, it's action-packed, it's thrilling stuff. It's just full-on intensity. These drivers will be testing themselves, and look at this car. It's a magnificent car, is this, to be racing in. Available to everyone. Everyone can drive this. And, well, what about this for a deal? If you are going to be joining iRacing and you're a new member, sign up right now at iRacing.com/membership, where you can get, for a new membership, 40% off. That's a tremendous deal. So 40% off of any new memberships of iRacing. Come join us. You may end up even racing against myself out there on track. So more than likely you'd race against one of these guys. But still, it's a tremendous offer. Get yourself signed up and get on track with us here on iRacing.
We alluded to the prizes a little bit earlier on, but here they are, at least for the European portion of today. First place of the feature race gets themselves €2,000 in their pocket. A tidy sum for just a day's worth of work. Of course, not including the practice that they've had on the run-up into this one. Second place gets themselves €1,000. Third place, €750. And then you can see the further breakdown all the way down to 10th place. So if you finish 10th, you still get yourself €100 in your bank account. So fantastic stuff there. Of course, we talk about this prize pool, Paul. It's more for one day's worth of racing than from what many sim racing events have for entire seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tremendous amount of money for a one-off event like this, and it's great that we're getting the support here from the EGX Arena and Virgin Media as well, supporting this event. It's certainly great to have those partners on board. And it gives these drivers who maybe don't get involved in those high-prize fun championships the opportunity to get themselves some pocket money.
And remember, it was basically open qualifying coming into this as well, so it was open to the entire iRacing user base that anyone was able to set themselves a time attack time just to get themselves qualified. And, well, we've gotten ourselves the top 30 in today for the EU, of course, and a little bit later on, we'll have the US get themselves out there as well. So, log on to iRacing.com today if, you know, in the future we have one of these events and you want to get yourself qualified into the race as well. Just go to iRacing.com to sign up. But without further ado, we have our starting grid for race number 1 here today, and it is Diogo Pinto from Portugal on pole position there with Alexia Loma, the Finn, on that front row as well. Second place to start for him. Jose Serraira and Adecopa Lopez will make an all-Spanish row number 2. And an all-British row number 3 behind them, with Liam McNitch and Phil Reed taking those 2 spots there. Having a look a little bit further back here, you have Nicholas Laubisch from Germany on the inside of row number 4 with Emil Bernstorff there just on his outside. Row number 5, Alexander Lacroix and Chris Van Den Nesse as he cycle things back to Daniel Muth and Josh Houlan at the back end of row number 6 there. And, well, that is your last row of the starting grid here today. It's a 12-car event here in the heat race. And very shortly we'll be going racing here at Laguna Seca. It's a pretty long run down in towards turn number 1 here today, and well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some hopeful dives down the inside.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there. That run down into, well, it's actually turn 2 because the little crest and the kink to the left, that is actually the turn number 1 here at this track, but it is a long run. It's a downhill braking zone as well. So you can really end up snatching a break and going deep into that corner. So you've got to be careful. But remember, the number that you've got to remember, 6th place, that is where those top 6 positions will automatically qualify for the feature race here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So exactly half the field will get themselves in through to the feature from this one. The other half, well, they will have to try again into the last chance qualifier that we'll get after we get these 2 heat races done here today. Drivers lined up on the starting grid then, just a handful of seconds away from getting this event underway. Absolutely fantastic stuff. The EGX Arena, powered by Virgin Media, Almost Pro 5K here on iRacing. We're just about to get off on the way here at Laguna Seca. It's a pretty long hold before we get going. Green flag is out. We're racing at Laguna Seca. Alexia Loma gets a very poor start from the front row. He's going to be cycled back a couple of spots here as Jose Serra and Adecopa Lopez fits down his inside. And now Liam McNish is trying to gain a position down the inside as well. There's a little bit of a tangle at the front, avoiding to be taken by multiple drivers, but they all keep it together out there on circuit. It's a big, big, big old scrap.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great stuff up at the front of the field there. And these drivers trying to sort themselves out, still sorting themselves out. They were going side by side. We've got there's a driver who's spun off at the back. That's Alexandre Lecroix, who's spun off at the back. But there you see that yellow car alongside. That's Kobe Lopez and McNinch. They're battling it out for second, third and fourth place, and Laubisch is involved in that as well. This car, it's a momentum car, is this one. You've really got to carry that minimum speed through the corners to get you the best opportunity, because it hasn't got a lot of power here. Into the corkscrew for the first time. This is where you can have some hopeful dives into there, but everything's going well so far.
Yeah, we're heading in towards the final couple of corners of the lap now. And, well, still 13.5 seconds remaining on the clock as Liam McNitch tries to keep that car steady. Going up over the curbs, there's Laubisch, teases the track limits on the outside there of the penultimate corner. And out onto the brakes into the hairpin. Big wide arc being taken by McNitch as he tries to get himself the speed off the corner. And you can sit in the slipstream here all the way down the pit straight and maybe hopefully be able to make that move down in towards turn number 1, but McNitch is going to stay in line. Is he going to bide his time? Looks like he is, as he'll just follow in line coming into turn 1.
Well, this is the thing. It's a slightly different mentality in heat racing. If you're in that top 6, you don't want to get yourself involved in an incident and lose yourself one of those top 6 positions. So you've got to play it a little bit canny. You want to go for moves to try and improve your qualifying position for that main feature race. But right now, those drivers that are in that top 6, they will be happy to just stay there, look after themselves, not get involved in the incidents. But 7th place, Reed, you know, Phil Reed right now that we're on board with here, he's got the hammer down. He's trying to push on and trying to get into that top 6. So that 6th, 7th spot is usually the hotly contested one in heat racing.
It really is, and you can just see this absolute terrain going on here, up into the corkscrew, one of the most dangerous portions on this track, and one of the most dangerous corners in the entirety of motorsport as you go see Phil Reed going side by side with Alexia Loma. There's number 3 on the inside as they head down the hill. Loma able to squeak himself ahead. They're scrapping ahead of these guys as well. So no matter where you look, it seems to be battles up and all over the place as Liam McNitch there holding on to P number 5, but he's very much established in a train himself here as it's a big old queue at the moment behind Jose Soraya in P2. Your race leader, Diogo Pinto, has very much run away with things, 2 seconds ahead of everyone else.
That's it. He's broken that slipstream. He's managed to get away. And we see it so many times in racing like this where the slipstream can have such an effect that once you break that slipstream, once you get far enough ahead, you'll be able to pull away. And if you are new to racing, if you've never watched a racing event before, what we mean by slipstream is the car at the front of a queue will be forming a hole in the air to make the car behind. It'll make it a little bit easier for the car behind to be able to travel through that air. So it means that get a little bit of extra speed on the car in front, and that can help them pull in front of that car in front.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's one of these things that the drivers will certainly be well aware of. But of course, if you're new to sim racing, new to motorsports, even in general, then that's something that is very, very useful to know. Riding on boards then as they climb up the hill in towards that corkscrew once again, on board with number 5 car of Nicholas Laubish as he looks to try to find a way through Jose Soraya. That is the battle for P2 here. And you might be wondering, oh, well, if they're inside the top 6, surely that means they're safe, right? Well, yes, you know, they're safe in the sense that they get a ticket into the feature event. But what they're racing for now, Paul, is the qualifying position on the grid for that feature event.
Yeah, absolutely. They're trying to set themselves that position. So, yes, you will want to see them try and move forward, but that's you don't want to risk anything. But one thing that you can do is, as you can see, Nicholas Laubish is just behind the wheel, looking very calm. He's looking around. He's chilled. He's got a very unique seat there as well for him. A lot of these drivers will have dedicated sim rigs that they'll be sat in, and they'll have everything set up absolutely how they want it, how they feel comfortable, as Laubish trying the long way around at turn number 2. But if you're thinking, well, I can't afford all these big rigs and all this expensive equipment, you don't have to. You can get yourself a cheap wheel online or at your local electronics store. Hook that up to your desk, and you can take part in these races. You can be involved in events like this. It's very inclusive is sim racing, and certainly one that I always encourage people to try take part in as well. We've got movement here in the top 6.
Yeah, we have Emil Bernstoff just getting involved in the thick of things here right now. They're fighting with Laubish here side by side through the kink is not really a good idea at this circuit, and that is exactly why, as Bernstoff gets forced out into the gravel, cycled all the way to the back of this battle pack, as we'll go 2 by 2 into the entry to the corkscrew. Liam McNish and Nicholas Laubish going wheel to wheel. We also have Alexia Loma getting himself involved. The Finn looking to try and improve position. He's had a horrible race so far, all things considered. He started 2nd, and well, he's been cycled all the way back into 5th at the moment, but he has gained 2 spots over this last lap alone.
certainly has. You might have seen somebody at the back of that group there just sort of blinking in and out. That's a little bit of an internet connection problem. So we are racing over the internet here, and different people's connections can behave a little bit differently. Even us in the broadcast booth here, we're working remotely. Things can get a little bit hooked up. That's out of our control. But down into turn 2 once again. They're going, and well, let's have a look at that from the back here. From there's the 15 car of Bernstorff getting forced off the track there, and I mean it is tricky. It's very tricky to go side by side through that kink there. It's unfortunate that's happened, but look at this. Look at the nature of the driving here and this car. Bernstorff is right there at the back of this queue, so they're all battling over that 6th place.
Yeah, they really are. We're going to see 3 wide here, which gets intriguing from time to time, but these guys and these cars are able to make it work as Nicholas Laubisch now, well, he came out on top in that particular 3-wide battle, and now he's on the back of the car ahead of him, of Liam McNish, who currently leads the pack around, or at least this particular pack around. There's battling up all over the place here, I can see on my timing screens, but still riding on board here as we head our way up in towards the corkscrew. We're on board with Bernstorff, as they just have to. It's such a technical section coming through here. You've got the tight apexes, and you've also got the fact that the track's dropping away from you all the time coming through here as well. Bernstorff down the inside of Laubisch trying to wrestle this position away. Laubisch still hanging it in the inside there, and Bernstorff has tracked out wide, loses a bit of momentum. Here comes Phil Reed now around the outside at the hairpin, and can't get anything done right there, but he gets a good amount of speed off the corner.
Yeah, it's battling up for 2nd place as well. That's Soria and Koba Lopez. Ade, I've actually battled with. Well, I say battled with. Ade Koba Lopez has passed me in many races in the past. He is a quick driver, and he's showing that once again. And he's in 3rd place at the moment, trying to battle for that 2nd place with Soraya. So the 2 Spaniards there working their way through, and it really is. This is this is really what we're seeing here is that Iberia sort of area is doing very well here, because the top 3 are all from that Spain-Portugal area. But this is the view that you see from the cockpit here, Connery. This is what you see when you're actually driving in the sim, and really you're in the driver's seat here. You're seeing what you would see if you were sat in the real thing. Yeah,
and well, let's see if Ade Koba Lopez can get past Jose Soraya up in front of him right now. Remember, if you are interested in iRacing, want to sign up for the first time, then you have 40% off all memberships going on at the moment at iRacing. So go on over to iRacing.com to sign up today, and who knows, we might see you on one of these broadcasts at some point.
I hope so. The more the merrier. That's what I say. The more people that we get racing on here, the more opportunities that open up for people, the more events that we have. And sim racing will just keep on growing and growing like it has done in year upon year. It just keeps on getting bigger and better. And the more people get involved in it, the more talent that there is. It really gives it a great atmosphere. And the thing is, a lot of the community very welcoming. They'll race you hard on track. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be easy out there on track. You'll have some very competitive people out there, but you generally find that the iRacing community is really good community atmosphere, and you can interact with people out there. There's Soraya and Koba Lopez for 2nd and 3rd place. We're getting into that final stage of the race, the final third of this opening heat race here, Connery. And it's that battle. You can see it on the timing screen on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see it in the background. In fact, there you go. Our producer's just brought it up on screen. Battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place, just dropping off the back there, Nicholas Laubisch.
Yeah, so McNinch, Reed, Bernstorff, Laubisch, all involved in this 4-car pack at the moment, and it's basically been these 4 that have been stuck together like glue since the very start of the race, as Phil Reed tries to get the run out of the kink, coming up the hill as those Formula V engines attempt to power them up in towards the braking zone of the corkscrew. Phil Reed trying to commit around the outside. It will give him the inside for the second apex, though. They do make contact. Liam McNitch spinning in front of traffic. He's able to recover and get back going, though. But yeah, that's why going too wide through the corkscrew can be a pretty big issue.
It certainly can. And, well, it's unfortunate that's happened, but unfortunately, that is something that can happen in racing. They're tangled up together a little bit there. When you're trying to go side by side, when you're talking millimeters between the cars or inches, you know, then that is going to be how close it can get. Here's a replay. Here's another look at it down there. And they're just the two cars getting together. Around he goes. Fortunately, nobody else collected him there, and they're all able to carry on.
Gotta say, it was great reactions from the 15 of Emil Bernstoff to just yank the wheel to the left and hold on to the car as that yank got it into a slide. Great job from the number 15 to hold on to that. Otherwise, like you said, we would have seen one more car get collected in that instant. But here's the battle for P2, still raging on. Alexia Loma down the inside, up into P2. That's exactly where Alexia Loma started. So he's taken pretty much the entirety of the race just to get back to where he started after a very poor start, coming off the line and down in towards turn number 1, where he was pretty sluggish and everyone just kind of steamrolled him on the inside there. And well, now let's see if Soraya can hold off against Adecopa Lopez, who has been giving him some trouble over the course of this race.
Do you know one thing I love about this car, Connery? It's that even the smoke when they lift off the accelerator, all the oil smoke from the engine even comes out as a puff of smoke. That's what the real car does. And well, if the real car does it, then you've got to have it in the sim here. And it's one of those little attention to details that I absolutely love here with this car. It's fantastic to see.
Yeah, because on first appearance, I thought that was an issue with the car in iRacing, but no, the real car also does that. So yeah, attention to detail is very much there. You can see the two battles going on up on the screen. So you've got the battle for P2 between Aloma, Soraya, and Lopez. At the top, you've got the P5 battle between Reed, Bernstoff, and Laubish. At the bottom, as Laubish, big commitment around the outside there in his battle for P6. Can't quite get anything done, but he still has the angle on the inside through the first sector.
It certainly does. This is the last lap as well, so now is the time to do this. If you're in that battle for 6th place, Bernstoff needs to find a way past to get himself automatically into that feature race. The last thing you want to do in a heat race like this is end up just one place outside of that automatic qualification, because then it's all on the line in the last chance qualifier. The top three, they're still battling away for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Pinto is way ahead. He's almost 5 seconds ahead down the road. There you see him in the distance. But it's that battle for 6th place. That is going to be the most important battle out there on track, because that will decide the last of these cars to automatically qualify.
Oh, Aloma just about keeping himself ahead there, coming through the corkscrew. Soria really gave him a very good challenge coming through there, but I have to wonder if this is going to be the order they come across the line now. There's Diogo Pinto. We haven't really talked about him all that much because he just ran away at the very front of the field. Absolutely no problems at all. Diogo Pinto wins the first heat race here at Laguna Seca. It's a big fight for 3rd place coming across the line, because Copa Lopez has just about nipped that one away from Soria. And now we have a look back to see who comes across the line in P6. Right now, it looks like it's going to be Phil Reed automatically qualifying into the feature.
I could tell you there was an issue up at the corkscrew between Reed and Bernstoff on that last lap. So those two ended up tangling, and it's Phil Reed who ends up being the one who benefits out of that situation. That is going to mean that Reed is the last of those automatic qualifiers. But we've got another race coming up here, Connery.
We'll have to be quick about it. Here's the results for heat race number 1. So you've got Diogo Pinto, Alexia Loma, Adecopa Lopez, Jose Soraya, Nicholas Laubish, Phil Reed getting themselves automatically qualified into the final events here. Bernstoff, Poulan, Mouf, Denessa, Nuknish, and Lacroix will have to try again in the last chance qualifiers here. But of course, you know, Paul, those guys that finished at the bottom half of the field, well, they're going to be gutted that they didn't get the free pass, in a sense, coming into the feature event. But they will still have another chance in, well, 2 races' time.
Yeah, absolutely. So after this next heat race that we're going to see, we're going to again get a last chance qualifier for those drivers who didn't automatically qualify from these opening 2 heat races to get themselves a chance on the final 3 rows of the grid for the feature race. It's going to be tough for these drivers out there in that last chance qualifier because it will be gloves off stuff, will that? It'll be tremendous to see, but it will be hard fought.
Well, we will have to go to a very, very quick break here due to we have to refresh something technically. You might see the stream go down and then come back up again, but do not worry, we will be back for heat race number 2 in just a couple of moments' time. We'll see you then. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the EGX Arena powered by Virgin Media. This is the Almost Pro 5K here on iRacing. We've had our first heat race in the bag with Diogo Pinto coming out on top in that one, but the racing is certainly not done here, Paul, as we have heat race number 2 coming up.
Yeah, we'll be we're looking forward to that's the second race coming up momentarily. Apologies for that little bit of a technical snafu, but we're back on air and we're going to be live. And well, let's get ready for the start of this second race, Connery. It's coming to us thick and fast now.
Well, let's have a look at it then. There's the starting grid. We have Andre Martins on pole position for heat race number 2 with Charlie Summers in P2 there, sharing the front row with Martins. You've got Jarl Tien and Thomas Simon bringing things back to P number 4 on the starting grid. You've got Nicholas Goebel and Will Redford bringing us down to position number 6 on the starting grid today for heat race 2. And then at the very back of the order, you have Peter Zuber, Miguel Freitas, Jason Cooper, Martin Sirotech, and Alejandro Lyro, rounding out the 11 cars that will take the start here for heat race number 2. And if you're just joining us, well, it's only the top 6 cars from this race which will get themselves an invite into the final. And of course, if you do want your chance to compete here in series just like this one, then log on to iRacing.com today. We've got our 40% off new memberships offer, and you also get to drive this exact car and track combo as well. They come as standard with an iRacing membership. So if you like what you see here today, you can go and try it if you go over to iRacing.com and sign up now. But drivers look like they are relatively ready and raring to go for the moment. Andre Martins on position, Charlie Summers on the front row as well. Let's get this second race started here in the Almost Pro 5K here on iRacing. Green flag is out, off and away we go. Great start from the race leader, or pole position sitter of Andre Martins, but it's Charlie Summers in second place there that almost had a horrible start, just like Alexia Loma did in the first race, but he's okay. He still maintains second down in towards turn number 1. Jarl Tien trying to hold off Nicholas Goebel from third, but Goebel sinks back in line. Redford also was looking early on there, but he cuts his losses now, but still side by side back in the pack between Zuber and Simon.
Now, those two have got to be careful not to battle too hard and allow the front five to pull away. They need to work together to a degree, as we've got action all further back. It's Freitas and Cooper. I know that those two have raced against each other in many, many championships, so it's hello again, my old friend, between those two down there through turn 4. That's unfortunate for them, but remember, they do have that last chance qualifier for them to try and qualify for the finale. But yeah, that battle of Zuber and Simon really needed to be careful not to allow that front five to pull away, or else it is just going to be squabbling over that last qualification spot.
We don't have that immediate separation that we had in race number 1 between P1, P2. They've all kept each other relatively close together in this train, so that could be a source of some excitement a little bit later on in the race. And in fact, the vast majority of the field is still within the same train, of course, apart from the drivers involved in the incident that we saw a little bit earlier on. They've dropped towards the back, so that was Miguel Freitas and Jason Cooper that are off the train here, but most of everyone else still in that same battle pack. And you see Nicholas Goebel now looking for a move on Jarl Tien. This is the battle for third place on the way in towards turn 1, but Goebel's going to back out, lifts out, but the thing is he goes straight from offense to defense as Redford's now looking down his inside.
Absolutely. Here we go. Here's a look then at what happened, and it's Freitas into the back there of Cooper. Well, Jason Cooper will be feeling very aggrieved about that Freitas just got into the back of him, spun him around, and he's ended up with some suspension damage, and that means that he's having to park the car in the pits. There you see him, is the look at what was happening with that suspension damage. He had to pull that over to the side of the track and had to pull over, but you can see how that tyre was hanging on by a thread there. That's some cable ties, some tyre ties, should I say, that are holding on to that tyre. And that is one of the features of iRacing with their damage model, which has been progressively worked on throughout the years here. And it's great to see how these bits of car can come flying off in accidents. We'd rather see the cars racing, but if you do have an accident, you can have some spectacular accidents.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm surprised that wheel isn't completely off at this point, hanging on by a thread. So then you could reference your favorite 3-tire driving practice from the real world. Michael Schumacher, early 2000s. Of course, you have the most recent one with Lewis Hamilton. It's the British Grand Prix, finishing the race with 3 tires. But yeah, it's going to be a long way to go to finish the race with a tire like that one. But continuing on for the moment, and now heading across the line to go on to lap number 3 here today in race number 2. We've already had 6 drivers qualify themselves to the feature. We will have 6 more from this race qualify themselves as well, but everyone's still in that big long train. It's still very much all to play for the moment, and Martins is being pressured here for P1 as well.
Yeah, he certainly is. Andre Martins doing a good job at the front of that field, but Charlie Summers, he's not one to shy away from a move or two, that's for sure. And Jarl Tien just happy to sit back, watch those two battle. If I'm Andre Martins right now, I'm not battling this too hard, because if you start defending, you slow each other down, and that allows the rest of the field to start making some moves on you. And here you go, Jarl Tien. One little look down the inside. We saw how going into this kink here side by side doesn't work, and that's why we see them just fall into line here on track.
Of course, we're seeing some of the top talent on iRacing here. Jarl Tien, one of them, of course, as he has competed in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, the Top Oval series here on iRacing, and he's he's pretty handy on a road course as well, so it's great to see him competing here today. You've also got Charlie Summers, who has also competed in the top level of competition here on the road side of racing as well. So it's a star-studded field in some instances. Yes, we don't have the championship winners instance from those series, but still a very, very tough competition, and some very high I ratings out there as well.
Absolutely, and don't forget as well, the Race 1 winner, Diogo Pinto, was in last season's Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup as well. So we've got drivers from the very top. We've got drivers who, as well, are maybe not as competitive normally, but in this car, it's a really good leveler. It's a great car to learn how to race and to drive and to how to do basic setup changes as well. And you can see how close they run with this car. Brilliant shots there from on board, but how close they can run together in this car and be battling neck and neck. Oh, almost touching wheels between your two leaders. Redford wants to get to the front, but well, Martin's now in third place, trying to find a way through as well.
It's all getting a little bit congested here through the middle sector. They're on the run up towards the kink now. There is a bit of side-by-side going on. Cien on the inside of Martins through the very fast left-hander. Somehow they've been able to make that work. Remember an instant through there in race 1 that forced one car wide. Not so this time around. We're running on board with Gödel at the moment as he's seeing everything happening in front of him right now as Martin's able to successfully defend there from Cien, and now Gödel senses an opportunity around the outside, but not quite going to make it work around there. We don't usually see it.
Yeah, we don't normally see that at all, but it's certainly giving us some good action out there on track. And yeah, definitely these drivers, I mean, they're not shy in attacking in this second race. We saw how that first heat was a bit more calm and composed with not that much sort of desperate dives or anything, whereas this one, they've had the opportunity. This is an advantage here you can have in heat racing. You've had the opportunity to watch that first race, see what does and doesn't work, and then you can apply it to this second race. So it is a unique thing. And look at that dive to the inside for the race lead as well. Redford and Summers, well, they're just going to keep on battling to the end of the race here, I feel, Connery.
Yeah, I think we'll keep this drama going on until the very end. We've still got about 7.5 minutes left of this one. You see there's the battle for fourth between Cien, Gödel, Zuber and Simon, but you've got action here, you've got action ahead. It's sometimes confusing about where to look here as Redford there going down the inside in that bright pink Formula V. He gets himself up into the race lead. So new race leader here on lap number 5. Here's a recap of the prize pool here for the European portion of this championship today. 2,000 euros goes to the winner of the feature race, with 1,000 euros to second place, 750 to third, and the breakdown goes all the way down to 10th place. So big prizes to play for here at the end of today, but no prizes given for this race. It's now just about securing your slot in that feature race, and of course, if you're at the very front of this race, securing a pretty good qualifying position as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, if you finish first in this second race, this second heat race, you will start the feature race in second place on the front row of the grid. So it certainly will give you a great advantage. This is why everyone wants to be at the front of the field in this race. They want that front row. That second place seems to be a bit of a poison chalice, though, on the grid. We saw how in race 1 it affected Alexia Loma, and now we saw how it wasn't the best to start either from Summers at the start of this race. But look at that, 3 different racing lines going into turn number 2. Squeeze there from Redford. This is tremendous stuff. Andre Martins, well, he doesn't know where to look because he's got the guys battling in front. He's also got the driver coming down his inside through turn 3.
Yeah, you've got to have your wits about you in a race such as this one. You've got to be looking ahead, you've got to be looking in your mirrors, looking around if you're in VR as well, as some of these drivers might well be. Nicholas Gödel, you can just see him creep into frame on the right-hand side. He's trying to challenge around the outside here and gets the up and under. He's back up underneath for the run towards the kink, and the inside, well, if you're going to be somewhere in through the kink, the inside's probably not a bad place to be, because that is what happens as you see Martin's coming through in the bottom of the frame, you get forced wide. But battle for the race lead going on as well. Redford and Summers still going at it here. Tian just waiting in the wings at the moment, I get the feeling.
Yeah, they certainly are. They're happy to wait there for their opportunities. So it's really been this battle, this 7-car battle, to try and get those automatic qualification spots in the top 6. I could tell you that one driver has fallen down the field. That's Liera at the back of the top 10. He's lost a position to Freitas. So Freitas is actually making some moves forward. But speaking of moves forward, you've got Zuba has moved up a position on the timing graphic on the left-hand side. But we're still focusing on this battle for your race lead.
We very much are. Redford trying to defend the inside into turn 1. He almost bang wheels down into the Andretti hairpin there. Summers is forced a little wide though, so now he's coming under threat from Tian. But Tian's just going to lift out, allow Summers to get back in line. The last thing that Tian needs at the moment is to let the rest of the pack catch up and try and fight it out for these podium positions, because this front trio have been able to get a gap. It's not a large one, but it's a gap that means they're not under threat in terms of slipstream.
Yeah, it makes them a bit more comfortable, doesn't it, to be able to make some moves on each other up here at the front and not really feel under pressure and under threat from behind. Martins and Goebel are 5th and 6th place, and they've got a decent-sized gap between themselves and Peter Zuba in that 6th spot. And 6th place, which we're looking at right now, is the most important one out there on track in terms of automatic qualification. Meanwhile, Charlie Summers has decided he wants to get to the front of the field now.
Yeah, well, he is now, but I don't think Redford will keep it that way for long. These guys have been really fighting it out tooth and nail for the race lead here, much closer for the race lead than we had in race number 1, where we saw Diogo Pinto just run away with things by a handful of seconds at the front at the end. But it's 3 drivers all to play for here as far as the race win is concerned. Of course, this does decide who starts front row in the feature event. So even though these guys are safe and qualified at the moment, as long as they can get it to the end, well, they still want that great starting position in the feature race, as Tian attempts, or at least shows the nose to the outside through the Andretti hairpin. Not successful. You got battle for 6th, so the last transfer spot on the bottom.
Oh, and there's a big crash. Oh my goodness, that's Weathertech and Simon that have come together. That's allowed Freitas to move up into 7th place. I mean, the man who was involved in an incident with Jason Cooper at the on the first lap of the race now finds himself in 7th place, almost on the verge of a qualification spot. Meanwhile, your leaders, as you say, at the top of your screen, they're busy swapping positions as well, and 4th and 5th place have actually caught up to them a bit.
I simply do not know how Freitas got through that incident, I'll be completely honest. It was just a single car's width of space, and he was able to stake it in there. Speaking of, Summers sticking it to the inside, or at least eventually the inside, into the corkscrew here, trying to get that speed up onto the brakes. Get up into P1, he's done it, and now Charlie Summers leads. Bad speed off the corner though. Redford can come back at him, coming down the hill here with 1.5 minutes remaining. Tian still yet to make an impact in this one, and guess what? There are more third parties involved in this now, because Andre Martins and Nicholas Goebel have managed to join the train for the race lead.
Now, we're going to be starting the final lap here, but the last thing that any of these drivers want to do is get involved in an incident like we're seeing right here with the number 9 of Thomas Simon. Just gets caught up. They tried to get the over-under there, did Weathertech, and they end up tangling with each other. But look at this now. This is the start of the last lap here, Connery, and it's 5 cars for the lead.
Oh, it gets close into turn 1 as Charlie Summers is able to hold on. Now Tian looking to try to hold on to that 2nd place so he can have a chance at the race lead at the very end of this race, but he loses out there to Redford. Andre Martins has now stuck his nose down the inside for the next right-hander here, and he gains a position over Tien. So Tien loses 2 spots in quick succession. He might even lose 3, as Nicholas Goebel is now looking to his outside. A little bit earlier on the brakes, though, for Goebel, allows Tien the line and allows him the space to be able to swing through. But this one certainly isn't done just yet. You're absolutely right, Paul. This is confirmed final lap with only 15 seconds left on the clock. Redford getting a very good run coming through the kink. He'll be able to at least get alongside into the corkscrew, but it's never guaranteed a pass into here. Redford needs to be late on the brakes as well. They're absolutely level coming through the corkscrew, but that's Redford through. Summers also losing P2 at the moment as well. He slots in 3rd. Tien still trying to make progress forward here as we come into the second to last corner. This on-camber right-hander, they can carry so much momentum through there. Now you look on the brakes into the final corner. Martins goes to the inside for the race lead, but he's simply way too far back. A bit of front to rear contact. It's still a run to the line though. Redford, I think he just about has the legs here. Summers is closing in, but it's not enough as Redford wins race 2.
My goodness, what a finish to that race there. Absolutely sensational. And I think it was close to the line for 6th place as well, potentially. So we'll have to wait for the official results to come up on screen to see all that. But my goodness, what a finish. Look at that for 6th place. Automatic qualification for the feature covered by 6 1,000ths of a second.
That is absolutely incredible. Zuber, I'm looking at it on my own view right now. He was just a front wing away from losing a transfer spot there. That was so close, but we're still not done in terms of the racing because we have the last chance qualifier coming up here. Here's a replay of the finish, however, as we'll get and take a look at that now. Here's the battle for the final transfer spot. Zuber ahead and just about ahead at the line, my word. Freitas is going to be kicking himself. He didn't have just that little bit of a better run out of the final corner. Here is the starting grid for the consolation race then. Emil Bernstoff and Miguel Freitas on the front row. You can see the rest of the names heading their way down the starting grid. So just a handful of rows to start here for the last chance qualifier. And soon we'll be off and away to decide who from these group of drivers who actually get themselves qualified into that feature event on the second time of asking. We're off and away, last chance for these drivers to compete for 5K. It's a horrible start from Freitas though, from the front row, just doesn't get going. It seems to be a theme, Paul, that the guy in P2 just can't get started as they swarm down in towards turn 1.
Yeah, I'll be having words with Miguel because he is one of my teammates. Oh, big incident. That's Pauline is around. There's another car involved in all of that as well. That's Daniel Muth. So they've dropped to the back. That's the worst thing that you can have happen here in a last chance qualifier.
It is. Poulan just carrying too much speed into turn 1. The car swapped ends on him immediately after that one, but we can see the battle still raging on for the moment. There's the battle involving Thomas Simon at the moment. That's for P3. You've also got cars further back as well as, my word, there's a slow car ahead. That is Thomas Simon. In fact, I think there was a little bit of contact with McNitch as we'll get ourselves a replay here at the start in just a couple of moments.
Yeah, so this is what happened down into the Andretti hairpin then. And you can see they get on the brakes, carrying the speed and just loses control. And 3 cars get involved in all of that. Not an ideal situation for Pauline and Muth.
Not at all. You know, even if he didn't go for that dive, Poulan likely, you know, would have still been inside a transfer spot. He didn't need necessarily to go for a move like that unless he was more concerned about getting a better qualifying or grid spot when it comes to the feature event here today. But the race as it stands for the moment, Bernstorff able to get out ahead for the moment, 0.6 of a second ahead of Freitas. Then you've got yourself Lyro there in P3. So Lyro doing relatively well here in this one. He started in 6th, by the way. He gains a couple of positions there. But he has nothing on Jason Cooper at the moment, who is involved in a battle. But he started 10th, and he's now just on the outside of those podium spots.
Yeah, but crucially in that battle there for your automatic qualification. So that's the most important thing that these drivers want. The top 6 positions, that's all that matters in this race here for these drivers. It'll give them the final 3 rows of the grid of the feature race for them. So Jason Cooper, he's trying to show what he couldn't show in his first race with that incident with Freitas. Down the inside, up into 3rd place now for Jason. And well, he'll be trying to bring McNinch along with him as well. McNinch, they're going 3 wide in towards the kink here. Well, you got drivers backing out of that one, and I'm not surprised really. Cooper's wide.
Cooper out into the gravel. He's able to keep a hold of the car. He rejoins in a safe fashion and rejoins at the back of the train as well. So he's still very much in this. Wheel to wheel between McNinch and the driver of Simon coming through the corkscrew. That fantastic down. World famous in motorsport, of course. We've got Chris van den Esser as well. Just look at the very back of this train. A bit of trivia. Chris van den Esser has the lowest I rating in this field here today in both heats. He only has 2,000, which is pretty average as far as things go, but he was able to put a good time in time attack, and he was able to qualify himself into this event. So on a good day, perhaps, even if you feel like you compete with the top on iRacing, you can still just sneak yourself in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just goes to show that at any given time, any result is possible here in iRacing and indeed in motorsport as well. But yeah, it certainly gives you that opportunity. If you're in the race, then you've got a chance. And Chris is certainly showing that. Yes, he's just outside that qualification spot. He's in 7th place, but he's right on the tail of Jason Cooper. And if he can keep with them, he can battle his way forward and find himself in a qualification spot, a final qualification for that feature race coming up.
Yeah, so it's all on the line for van den Esser at the moment. Remember, of course, this is the sort of visor cam we're doubling it. It's what the driver sees out there on circuit on their sim rig. Of course, you know, due to the whole realism aspect, iRacing, well, you have to race from the cockpit view. But of course, in hosted sessions, you can race chase cam all you like. But right now, you can see we have battling all up ahead right now of van den Esser as he's trying to pick a line through on all this. He's going to try and find where the weaknesses are of the drivers ahead, and well, one might be coming his way as there's Jason Cooper completely turning Thomas Simon into the second to last corner. Well, there's usually only one car to blame in the front to rear contact, Paul.
Yeah, there usually is. And if you've ever heard a broadcast with me commentating on it, you'll know what I think of who would be at fault there. But look at the battle for the lead right here now. Bernstorff and Freitas, they're battling away, try and get themselves onto the best row that they can for that feature race. Here's a replay of what happened then. This is going into the penultimate corner at turn 10. And yeah, Cooper just coming in, making contact with the rear of the car, which is actually your gearbox. Oh, and then gives him a helping hand around just for good measure.
Yep, whoops, sorry about that. We'll turn you in the right direction as well, as they'll both be able to rejoin the circuit. But 9 minutes left of this last chance qualifier now. We saw the battle for the race lead start to brew once again. Bernstorff and Freitas are the 2 cars involved in this one. They have a very healthy gap. Oh, what's happened back here?
So Liero was one of them involved. I can see that on the timing screen on the left-hand side of your screen there. And Liero was one of those involved. It's all getting a bit messy, and it's all getting a bit desperate to try and get themselves into that qualification spot for the final, for this feature race. It shows that, you know, the pressure is getting to these drivers out there, and they're making basic mistakes here.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And, well, this is what happens where you have a target, you have finished top 6 going around in your head to try and qualify into the feature event, and well, anything else is going to not net you any prizes at the end of the day, is it? So Yeah, you can understand the aggression, and you can understand the pressure on the driver's shoulders at the moment. We do have one retirement from this event, by the way. Josh Poulin, after that lap 1 incident, decided to take no further part in this race. So we do have 10 cars running out there for the moment, as we'll get ourselves a look at exactly what happened in that big old bunch of confusion at the left-hander.
So that's the contact to start with. I mean, incredible that McNinch is able to carry on quite like that. And then you've got the Nuffer contact further back there. And, well, the two of them... Oh, is that damage to the rear suspension? Yeah, right rear is broken there, so he won't be able to carry that on there. So that's why he is out. Poulin, that was actually Poulin, so he didn't retire after lap 1. He retired in that instant right there. But again, it shows the damage model here on iRacing. You end up making a mistake and making contact like that, that's your race done. There's no reset button there.
No. Simply not. Well, the only reset button that exists is to tow yourself back to pit lane, and that's what the drivers were definitely not want to do. Having a look back, 3rd, 4th, 5th, Seca, Danessa and McNish all battling it out here. Danessa able to squeak his way down through the corkscrew there. Now has been able to clear the car coming into the final couple of corners. Here comes the runner speed as well from McNish, as he's going to try and carry the speed around the outside of the penultimate corner. Jason Cooper also looking to get himself involved in this one. Absolutely neck and neck into the hairpin. McNish just about gets clear, and Cooper's now challenging that driver of Weathertech.
Yeah, so that's all the battle there for 4th, 5th and 6th places there. They've got a little bit of a gap over 7th place, which is what they want. They want that gap between themselves and 7th place. There's the battle for your race lead on the top screen there, by the way. But those drivers there in 4th, 5th and 6th, they can't battle too hard with each other because they'll slow each other down and allow Thomas Simon to catch up to them again.
Yeah, so just got to be a little bit careful. Like you said, it's very helpful for them to have the buffer back to P7. That means that their qualification spot into the feature event is not at as much risk. But sometimes, you know, you do have to start prioritizing the spots on the grid as far as the feature race is concerned. Remember, the higher you finish here in this event, the higher on the starting grid that you start come that feature event. So all these battles still very crucial at the moment, and Liam McNinch knows that as he looks to drive his right-hand side on Jason Cooper on that long climb up the hill to the corkscrew. Here comes Weathertech back down the inside as well, late on the brakes. Can he get it done through here? Doesn't look like, as McNinch gets better speed off. But we're starting to run out of time at the moment, Paul. We're less than 5 minutes before the end.
Yeah, we're into that final third of the race here. And I've got to say, it would be, if I was wearing it, it'd be a tip of the cap to Chris van der Ness. He's doing a fantastic job up there in 3rd place at the moment, keeping himself out of trouble. I don't want to give him the commentator's curse, but by merely mentioning that, of course, that means that I have done. So van der Ness and Cooper. If I were van der Ness, I wouldn't fight too hard. You're getting yourself a qualification into the finale, because this battle group, this pack, it's got a big enough gap over Thomas Simon to even drop back to 6th place.
Yeah, these guys got to, again, consider that gap. It's a refresher of what the format is today. We've already had 2 sprint races here in the Almost Pro iRacing EU finals. The US finals will be coming a little bit later on. This is the last trans qualifier here that you're watching right now before we get ourselves into the feature event. The top 6 from this event will qualify, as well as the top 6 that we had from both of the heat races. So that's the organization for today. It's the exact US as well, so you can transfer that over. But 3 minutes and 30 seconds left remaining. This train for P very strong at but again, they have to be careful about Thomas Simon. He's only a couple of seconds behind. Bits of contact on the way up to the corkscrew, and Weathertech's left wondering what's going on in the dirt.
I think it'll be stronger words than what's going on, but yes, he oh my goodness, it's just this is some of the perils that you can have of running really close together. People start squeezing each other and try and start forcing the other one to give up the ground there, right there. And that's, again, the last thing that you want to get involved with, especially if you're involved in a battle for the top 6, is to end up tripping up over each other and ending up outside that top 6. That's exactly what's happened here. McNinch and Simon, they're battling for that final in that final qualification spot right now, and they've got a good 2-second gap over LaCroix.
Yeah, let's have a look at what happened there. It was a pretty confusing incident on first look. Let's see if we get any insight here. Just a movement to the left there from Weathertech, and just the slight bits of contact is all that's required to send one car around sometimes. And Weathertech is the unfortunate recipient of that, but in the end, it was his movement that caused the contact. So.
Exactly, and you've got to be so careful. When you're involved in pack racing like that, yes, you may have the run on the car that's in front of you, but if you've got a car to the side of you, you cannot just suddenly veer out to the left-hand side there and not make any contact with that car that's alongside. These two at the front, I think if there is going to be any moves made by Freitas, it'll be on the last lap here, because quite frankly, they'll be happy to not get involved in anything, not trip over each other and start next to each other on the 13th row of the grid of the main feature race.
Yeah, so that whole incident does mean that, of course, Thomas Simon, we were talking about him a little bit even before that, he now has promoted himself up into a qualification spot. So the number 9 currently qualifies into the feature event, and of course everyone above that car as well. So everyone else, especially in trains like this one, still competing for the grid spots in that feature event. Just 1 more minute to go as they head their way across the line. This will be the final lap, as Daniel Muth looks to the outside on Alejandro Lyro, a little bit deeper in the pack. But here in towards turn number 1, you have the group of Cooper, Danessa and Liam McNinch, all still, well, not exactly fighting it out wheel to wheel for the moment, but you know, this potentially could be another flashpoint, Paul.
I think McNinch will feel that he's faster than Chris Van Der Ness in front of him and will want to get ahead, but he can't afford to make a mistake and end up spinning off into the dirt there and into the wall. But at the same point as well, if you're Van Der Ness and you've got him making a dive, I would just let him by. I wouldn't fight this one too hard. You're in a qualification spot right now. Yes, you're losing the position. As look at that race lead on the top of your screen, side by side into the corkscrew.
Freitas didn't commit to the outside there. He broke quite late and, well, was hoping that Bernstoff would have outbroken themselves into the corkscrew there, but Bernstoff was able to get the car stopped. Now Freitas doesn't have a lot of options now at the end of this race. Maybe it just is, oh, he clatters the curb on the inside, he gets spat out into the dirt, and that's going to mean the move into the final corner simply isn't available for Freitas. It's a single mistake that means that he doesn't even get the chance to go for the race win. It's Emil Bernstoff who comes across the line to win the last chance qualifier. Everyone inside the top 6, of course, will qualify. Here comes the next pack coming across the line here. Jason Cooper in P3, Liam McNinch P4, Chris Van Der Ness P5, and Thomas Simon in P6. Those are your 6 qualifiers from the last chance qualifier.
Great racing. I think that one was a little bit more desperation on display there in that race. So definitely exciting racing nonetheless, though. Just maybe a little bit more contact than we would like to have seen.
Here are the results then from the last chance qualifier. Emil Bernstoff with the race win, with Miguel Freitas in P2. Jason Cooper P3 with Liam McNinch in P4. Chris Van Der Ness, lowest iRacing driver in this entire grouping. He still qualifies, and in P5 at that. Thomas Simon is your last qualifier here. He will start at the very back of the starting grid for the feature event. Those drivers we have to say goodbye to, though. Alexander Lacroix, we've got Daniel Muth, Alejandro Lyro, Martin Weathertech there, and a couple other drivers at the very back of the order as well that we will have to say adios to. But we've got ourselves our grid set now for that all-important feature event. This is where the prizes are given. and where we hope to see the vast majority of the absolutely incredible battling.
Yeah, now this is an intriguing part of heat racing because the drivers in that first heat have had to sit around, wait for the two races that followed them to be able to get back out there on track. There's now a 5-minute session here for them to just get back into the swing of things. Sometimes it can actually work in your advantage to be in that last chance qualifier because you've had a refreshed race, it's in your memory, you've got the flow of the track, and you can really go at it. Whereas those drivers from the first race, they've had to sit around and just watch what's going on, and you can get a little bit out of sync with the circuit here.
What kind of attitude do you take into this race, if you're, for example, Diogo Pinto, who started pole position in the race number 1, ran away with it, didn't really have another car challenge him for the entire duration of the race? How does his attitude now change coming into this event? Because he's had no one to fight with for the entire duration of this entire broadcast. He can't rely, of course he does have to rely on some aspect of getting a similarly good start in this feature event, but the level is just so much higher here with the drivers.
Absolutely. Diogo, he'll do what he needs to do and just try and get that gap at the front of the race like he did in the opening heat race. You can see here, looking at the warm-up session that we were talking about, where the drivers get to have a little bit of a run out there and, well, even just having a little bit of a play, pushing each other off, and yeah, you can see the puff of the cheeks there. Maybe not what he wanted to do there, but yeah, definitely you're seeing opportunities out there. But we'll have a look at the map again here at Laguna, the Weathertech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and we've seen those moves. Well, I was saying that turn 2 was one of the main move opportunities here. Well, we've seen the moves going into turn 5, into the corkscrew, coming down from the corkscrew into the penultimate corner and even the final corner as well. So it is a track with these cars where you can make moves pretty much everywhere around this track. The one corner that I would say is the difficult one to run side by side through is the kink. We've seen those contacts where they've tried to go side by side through the kink and people going out wide. There is a bit of runoff out there, but you can see that undulation, the elevation change there on that track map. It is truly sensational, the height that you drop, especially at the corkscrew. As I said earlier when we looked at the track map at the start, 4 stories. That's the equivalent of a 4-story building that you drop down there, Conrad.
Yeah, a big drop. You certainly don't want to be doing that. But yeah, in any normal circumstances. But of course, race cars seem to do it no problem. But just a reminder that iRacing currently have a promotional offer on 40% off all new memberships here on iRacing. Just go to iRacing.com/membership. And you'll be able to get 40% off your first, purchases with iRacing, I suppose. And, well, Paul, of course, we've been here for a good couple of years. We've gotten a good amount of the content. And I guess I'm sitting here wishing I'd have gone for a promotion like that at the start.
Absolutely. But here's the format of today's events. We've seen those 2 heat races where we saw the first 12 qualify automatically for this feature race. And then we've just seen a few moments ago that last chance qualifier, that last opportunity for those drivers to be able to qualify themselves for this feature race. And now we've got an 18-car grid for this feature race, and it's a longer race as well. 25 minutes we're going to be seeing. So there's not going to be quite so much desperation, I don't think. You've got time to be able to do things, so you don't panic. The worst thing you could do is panic and end up putting yourself out the race.
We actually had one of our competitors, Mark Redfoot, say in the chat saying fuel stops needed here since the race is so long. So yeah, another little element to the strategy, being concerned about the fuel numbers. So without further ado, let's have a look at the starting grid then for the feature event, the Almost Pro iRacing EU Finals. It is Diogo Pinto on pole position with Will Redford in P2, Alexia Loma in P3 with Charlie Summers P4, Then you've got Adecopa Lopez, P5. Nicholas Girdel, P6. He's on the outside of row number 3. You have a look back then to those drivers that have not done as well in their heat races or in the consolation races. You got Jose Soira in inside of row 4. You've got Andre Martins there, also very competitive in the number 46. Nicholas Laubish and Yaltian will make up row number 5. And then you cycle all those names further back. You've got Phil Reed, Peter Zuber, Miamel Bernstoff, Miguel Freitas, Jason Cooper, Liam McNish, Chris van der Nessa, Thomas Simon, rounding out the 18-car starting grid here today. I certainly can't wait to get things started. This is now where push comes to shove. With prizes on the line, we're about to get ourselves underway here at Laguna Seca. Just a hold now before we get ourselves that run down in towards turn number 1. Diogo Pinto, what can he do from pole position? P2 has typically been slow getting off the line here, but not so this time around, because it seems like Will Redford has absolutely nailed it, and he gets the run on the race leader down in towards turn number 1 now as the pack swarms behind them. Redford trying to swing around the outside of Pinto. Pinto holds the inside. He maintains the race lead. Everyone else coming through the first couple of corners. Now I'm seeing no big dramas further back in the field, but everyone calm through the first sector here of this 25-minute event. Side by side a little bit further back though.
Yeah, absolutely. So great to see that they're all able to get away and get away cleanly. Zuber is actually holding up Cooper, Freitas, Van der Ness et al. Behind, because he's really had an awful start to this race. Look at that, 3 wide into turn 5. And Jason Cooper's going for it, but the trouble is, for those drivers, they're losing ground on the front pack. And this is it. This is the front pack, that gaggle of cars. And there's a big space between them and the rest of your field.
Very, very well. You don't want to see that separation early on. If you're one of those drivers at the very back of the field, you want to be all still clumped up at this stage so that you have your best chance of picking your way through. There's been an instant though at the very back of the field. Chris van der Nessa, oh, he's done so well to even get to this point, but now it looks like he's out of the event on the first lap. It was a bit of an underdog story with him, wasn't it, Paul? But now he's not going to be able to compete any further as we'll see ourselves, get on the brakes in towards the pit lane, it seems, as everyone coming down in for early stops, it seems. Yeah,
so there's a load of drivers thinking that they cannot make it on fuel, so they're going for an early pit stop here and trying to get the jump. Now, this is a thing here. If you get yourself some clean air and get some fast laps in, that can jump you with the strategy here in this race. We'll get a look at what's happened here further back, and well, it's into the kink. There's Freitas. Freitas hit from behind. Around they go, and it's as he's come back, he's not held his brakes, and that's ended up collecting Chris van der Ness. And well, the underdog story, I'm afraid, is over.
That's one of the crucial rules in racing. You have to hold your brakes. If you get yourself into an instant like that, you can't just roll back across the circuit as an unsafe rejoin. Oh, that was so sketchy there, coming into the left-hander of turn number 5. But everyone seems to have been able to keep each other, on track, I suppose. But as a result of those early stops, excuse me, it seems like the pack has been mixed up quite a bit between those that did decide to come in for that end of lap number 1 splash and dash and those that have committed to staying out just that little bit longer. We think they can't quite get there in terms of the fuel, but I wouldn't be surprised to see someone at least try and get the fuel-saving game started.
Yeah, if you're at the back of a queue of cars and you can do what's called lifting and coasting, so that's where you lift off the accelerator earlier than you normally would if you were pushing hard, and then it means that you're not braking quite as much as well. That just allows you to just eke out those little bits of fuel and be able to save yourself just a little bit of fuel out there. And I'd be surprised if somebody does make it all the way to the end doing that, but you never know. I've seen surprising things happen in motorsport all the way through my life. So, good luck to anyone who does try that.
Yeah, I think this kind of works out. This is a good decision right now, in particular for Diogo Pinto to come down in early, because he was being challenged quite fiercely and down in towards turn number 1, and of course the length of the first lap by Will Redford. He pitted, and now he's got a whole bunch of clear air ahead of him. So I think that was a good decision there for Pinto to keep himself out of trouble and be able to run fast laps. But it's now all on everyone else to try and respond to this one now, as we see some fantastic battles going on out there, as we see Peter Zuber and Thomas Simon going, well, at least they're having a little bit of a battle. You've got this pack established a little bit further forward as well. So it's kind of an intriguing start to the race here, because it's not what we really expected, with so many people coming down in so early, end of lap 1, just to get that little piece of extra fuel.
Well, here's the thing. You said that Diogo Pinto's got a big gap in front of him. It's not actually that big. It's only, what, 2 seconds between him and another bit of traffic. So, you know, it can backfire on you here in a race like this. If you do make that early pit stop, if you get caught up in traffic, that can slow you down. So the guys who are out there at the front, Redford and Koba Lopez, they're just working together. Koba Lopez will be quite happy to just sit behind, I would imagine, do a little bit of fuel saving just to eke it out and mean that he gets as little fuel put into his car as possible in that pit stop. That just means that your pit stop's just that little bit quicker. The less fuel you're having to put in, the quicker you can get away, and the quicker that you're out there on track again, battling for the lead.
Here's the view from second place man at the moment, just briefly there, as Redford still parked ahead of him at the moment. Koba Lopez just content to stay in line for the moment. This is the battle for P3 and back that you're seeing heading their way around for the moment as well, between Bernstoff, Sawyer and Reed as well, as we do have the 999 car just heading his way out of the pit lane. That is Miguel Freitas.
Well, this is really intriguing to watch, because normally, I mean, me and you, Connery, we work on many endurance broadcasts, don't we? And strategy becomes key. It's king in endurance racing. Well, this is an endurance race for these cars, because the fuel tank isn't that big on them. They're used to just quick 15-minute races. So you're having to think about, right, what's going to be the best strategy? If I get clean air at the front from the start, I can maybe try just breaking away and run my own race and then pit as late as possible. If you're stuck in a pack of cars and nobody else has got in front of you, dive on into pit road, get yourself some clearer air to get those faster times in, so that you can then jump those cars that you were battling with in the pit stop strategy. Of course, you've got a few different things that can go against you with that. As I mentioned earlier, traffic. If you catch up to traffic in the wrong place, if you make an early pit stop, that can affect your times out there. But also, an easy mistake to make, going speeding in the pit lane. It'll give you an automatic penalty, and it'll cost you everything that you were trying to gain.
Yeah, we've seen it so many times as well. But Paul, if you, as a driver, because I know you drive a lot here on iRacing, more than I do, that's for sure, and you compete in some, quite good leagues. What would you do in this situation as a driver? Would you have been one of those coming down in early, or are you one of these drivers that have decided to commit to the long game and come in a little bit later on if required?
It depends on the situation. If I'm stuck there in a pack of cars and I feel and I know that I can go quicker, then I would be pitting early. If I'm in a queue of cars like we are on board now, and you're keeping that pace up and keeping a good pace as well, then I'd be happy to sit behind, do a little bit of fuel saving. You'll save yourself some fuel there just by sitting behind the cars, because remember, at the start of the broadcast, we mentioned about the slipstream, about the draft effect that these cars do. That also helps these drivers save fuel as well. So that car at the front of the queue, cutting the air open for those cars that are following, it makes it easier for those cars behind. It means they use less fuel, and it means that they can do a bit of fuel saving as well. So definitely this battle for 11th place, look at that Pinto. These are the drivers that have pitted on lap 1, don't forget. And Pinto led away at the front of your field, so he was straight onto pit road even though he was at the front of the field.
Now, you've got to wonder what the timing is going to be like for the rest of the drivers now. Are they committing to going as much as they can on this fuel tank and then coming in with, what, 1-2 laps to go to get that splash and dash? That seems, well, 1 lap seems to be only required for the early pitters. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting, I'd say. But I think for the main thing, with the guys in the sort of the guys who had already pitted sort of pack, the Battle for P11, those guys haven't really been fighting all that much with each other. They're content to run their own laps, and sometimes that is the fastest way to go around. And of course, we did get news that Diogo Pinto had the fastest lap that last time around, so something's working for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing you want to be doing is fighting tooth and nail over that over the position of the driver that you're in the queue of traffic with, because it will slow you both down. That's another thing. You can't get embroiled in a battle, because you will just slow each other down, and that works out the worst for both of you. So that's where it's going to sound strange, this, to anyone who's new to motorsport. If you're the car in front and the car behind is absolutely desperate to get past you and are trying everything, don't fight them. Let them go ahead and then just sit behind them. Use their slipstream, use their draft to help you out. So it sounds a little bit alien that, yes, you're wanting to win, but you're also willing to let somebody pass you. It just sounds contra strategy, but it does work out, because it means that you're not tripping over each other and slowing each other down.
It really does. So what you're watching right now is the EU portion of the Almost Pro 5K Championship. Our next race, though, will be the start of the North American event. So that's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Same car, same track, same format, but they're all from North America this time around. So yeah, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic event for those guys as well. Relatively similar prize pool as well, as we'll see. Car coming off of the pit lane there. So another driver's decided to come down in. That is one of those further back through the pack. That's Goebel, in fact. That's Goebel. Yeah. So he's come down in. He was at the very back of the leading train, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's not quite worked out for him. He's quite a bit behind, quite a ways behind, almost 16 seconds behind Pinto. So it's not worked out for him. Look at this queue of cars at the front of your field. Koba Lopez has got to the front of the field. Redford has said, okay, if you want to be in the lead, you go ahead. So that's what we're seeing right now. When do these drivers come onto pit road? If I'm Redford, I'd possibly think now's the time to come onto pit road. And look at that, straight onto pit road for him.
Okay, Paul, so what are next week's lottery tickets? I think is what I'll say in response to that. But yeah, Redford is in, Syra is in, Phil Reed also in. So a good grouping of that leading pack have decided that now is the time that they want to come down on towards the pit lane. And, well, the crucial point is where do they come out in relation to the pack involving Diogo Pinto and a handful of other drivers, Andre Martins, Charlie Summers. You can see them at the bottom of your screen now. So they're just about heading their way across the grid spot, as the grouping that we saw come down towards the pit lane are now just coming off the pit lane. So it seems like that group that came down early have gained a whole bunch of advantage here in towards those first two corners. Of course, the pit lane being on the inside will give them a little bit more of an advantage there, but they're nowhere to be seen, and Redford spun on pit exit.
That is so easy to do here as well. It is so easy to do that pit lane. It's not got the same grip as the racetrack. It's not getting rubbered in like the rest of the racetrack, and you just come into that. It's a really tight left-hander. You get a wheel onto the dirt, and all of a sudden you're spinning like a spinning top, and you look a little bit silly, even though you're not really. It is quite an easy thing to do.
Yeah, the drivers behind in that situation, Sawyer and Reed, doing very well to try and avoid the spun car on pit exit. It's the last place where you'll expect a car to be spun around, but there's Redford just getting the back ends out, narrowly avoiding the car there. My word, that was so close to being another car involved and perhaps a bit of a bigger incident. But yeah, it seemed like the coming down in early at the end of that first lap seemed to have, been the best strategy for the moment, because The drivers, of course, of Diogo Pinto, Andre Martins, Charlie Summers, all were able to get out ahead of that grouping that came down in from the front just that lap ago.
And here's the thing as well, Diogo Pinto is still about 18, 19 seconds behind your overall race leader right now. To traverse from cone to cone, so from the start of the pit lane to the end of the pit lane, you're talking around about 30 seconds. So, okay, you'll cut a little bit of that time by the fact that you're cutting the inside of the last corner and the inside of the first corner, but this lot, it's not working out for them to be able to fight for the lead. And what's worked out for that group that pitted on lap 1 is that they've not fought each other. They've just sat in line, they've just worked together, kept the pace up, because they know that they will be able to keep that speed for the end of the race. And incredibly, Connery, we've got only 10 minutes remaining of this race.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. And it seems like some drivers are going to have a little bit of fun here, at least into the corkscrew, but Copa Lopez will just keep himself in line for now. This is the battle for the current race lead that you're seeing right now, but of course these cars have not decided to come down on towards the pit lane just yet. So everyone from P1 down to P6 has not decided to come down in just yet, and well, for this leading duo, they're not going to come down in at this lap either. So I get the feeling that these guys are just going to commit to that long strategy.
Yeah, once you've reached this portion of the race, you've committed to that long strategy. You're going to the end. If you're someone like Simon or Laubish or Zuba, you're pitting anytime you like, really, because you're not going to be in that battle for the top 10. I don't feel. Of course, it is the top 10 positions that get themselves some prize money, so don't forget that. They're all trying to win this and to get into that top 10. But definitely these two at the front here, Bernstorff and Coba Lopez. Don't forget, Bernstorff had to come through in the last chance qualifier. So he's just trying to get himself a really good place out there on track. And Pinto now just slowly been eking away at the lead of these two.
He has, slowly but steadily closing in and reducing the gap, and it just means that Bernstorff and Copa Lopez are just going to come out further and further behind him when they decide to come down on towards the safety of pit lane. So that's the situation going on at the very front of the field at the moment. You can see, though, that Bernstorff going all the way to driver's left-hand side just to cover off the line from Copa Lopez, but Copa Lopez doesn't seem to be really in any rush at all to try and get through at the moment. Maybe Copa Lopez trying a little bit of fuel-saving games at the moment here, just to make sure he possibly won't be able to entirely miss out the stop, but he might be able to save enough fuel so that he can put less fuel in, because every single second matters as far as the pit stops here. It can mean the difference between you coming out ahead of your competitors and coming out just behind. We've seen some races decided on that very fact before, but at the end of lap number 10, on to lap number 11, Copa Lopez looking to the outside for the race lead pole.
Now, what's crucial about these two drivers is where their pit stall is. The 5th pit stall, look, is right behind the timing line. This is almost Michael Schumacher at the British Grand Prix in 1998. Coming into pit road, you could see this, coming onto pit road on the white flag lap, taking the pit stop and then just crawling across the line there. So it's crucial as to where their pit stall is, as to when they take the pit stop.
Oh, so that yellow one is Coba Lopez's pit stall. So he'd be in the best position to do that. Oh my word, I've never seen anything like that in sim racing. Of course, you mentioned the real world occurrence, but yeah, if we can get our own version here, that would be incredible. One for the iRacing Top 10 for sure, as we'll get that plug in for the iRacing YouTube channel as well. But 6 minutes, 50 seconds left to go. Here's the battle for the race lead. Then Copa Lopez just about gets himself through, and it was helped somewhat by Emil Bernstorff. He lifted out of that one. Maybe he just wants to get some last-minute fuel saving done as well, just to make sure the amount of fuel that he has to put in at the stop is the minimum.
Yeah, so that is a question. I think that's Coba Lopez saying, right, I've done enough fuel saving here. I'm going to put in some quick times now, because we are running towards the end of the race. We're only looking at about 4 laps or so remaining in this race. But Kobe Lopez right now, he moved ahead. He consciously made that move. It wasn't so much of Bernstorff just saying, pulling over to one side and saying, go ahead of me. But Bernstorff did facilitate that move. That is crucial there for him, because as you say, he's now getting that slipstream, that draft, getting that little bit of last-minute fuel saving. Jason Cooper has decided to come onto pit road along with Thomas Simon and Peter Zuber and Nicholas Laubisch. So those drivers who were a little bit behind the front two, they've made their pit stop here.
I tell you what, I'm glad you brought up the pit stall situation, because it was close for them. I think right now, these guys at the very front might just be in the clear if they decide to do the whole pit on the very last lap, just call across the line sort of strategy. But we will just have to wait and see. But, you know, we're only a handful of minutes away from seeing the result of this one. And remember, the prize is on offer. For first, it is 2,000 euros. For second, it's 1,000 euros. For third, it's 750 euros. So it's very top heavy in terms of the prizes here. You really want to be gunning, well, if not for that first position, then for second. But if you ask any one of these drivers, none of them want to finish second.
What is it? Second is the first of the losers, isn't it? Is the famous quote. So that is what they're all aiming for. They're all aiming for that top prize, 2,000 euros. Well, that'll be quite nice indeed. That'll get you some nice sim racing equipment, that's for sure. But yeah, these drivers. Oh, now they're coming onto pit road. They can't make it to the end, neither of them. So we're not going to see that last lap lunge, but we're going to see how the leaders pan out. And Kobe Lopez lost a position on pit road there.
He did. Bernstorff just about creeping. Oh, but as Bernstorff botched it, though, I think he had to reverse slightly into his pit box. So from hero to zero, potentially here in the final moments of, final minutes of the race. We'll have to see what the order is, as there's the group involving Pinto. So Pinto re-inherits the race lead, and you can see the at the very back there through the pit lane. Kobe Lopez has been able to gain that position back, by the way, due to that pit stop error on the part of Bernstorff.
Oh, it's so heartbreaking, but again, it's something that's easily done. But what this means is Kobe Lopez 5th place, Bernstorff 6th place. They're not too far behind, but I think they are just that too much behind. What they're hoping for now is that this pack, this front four now, start fighting and start tripping over each other. That is what Kobe Lopez and Bernstorff are hoping happens here.
Let's have a look at what happened down there on the pit lane. Here's the view from Bernstorff. Good pit lane entry there, and oh, Kobe Lopez just completely overcommitted to the hairpin in the middle of pit lane here. And you can see Bernstorff, well, you can creep up to the pit lane speed limit. You even have some leeway to go slightly over it if you're particularly cheeky. But you do have to get back in towards the average time or the average speed down pit lane, because that's how it's measured, Paul, isn't it? It's average speed between 2 points on pit lane usually, and so that doesn't mean you can creep over in some little instances, but you've got to be so careful about it.
Yeah, speaking of being careful now, we're going to be seeing the last 2 laps of the race here, and I think Connery, as one of my favourite commentators used to say, business is about to pick up, because these front 3 right here are going to start fighting, because the big money is right there at the front of your field. And don't count out Alexia Loma either in 4th place. He's just fallen off the back of them slightly, but he'll be hoping that these guys start squabbling and start fighting over positions here.
This is for the money. This is for, well, for the race win, 2,000 euros. Tidy bit of change for these drivers. Probably the most money any of them have earned in a single day. But of course, it is just, well, a little bit more than a single day, isn't it? With regards to the experience here, some of these guys have spent years and years in sim racing, years and years on iRacing to be able to get the skill set to even be able to challenge for the lead of this race at this point. So yes, a single day's worth of racing, but years worth of experience at the very front of the field here, with less than 1.5 minutes to go. climbing up the hill towards the corkscrew once again. This is the second to last time here in the feature event. And well, Pinto currently leads from Martins, from Summers, all remarkably calm at the moment, but I know how dangerous it is to say that as a commentator, especially when Martins is in the mix, a notoriously aggressive driver.
Certainly is, yes. You point that one out absolutely perfectly there, Connery. We've seen how aggressive he can be, but I would say actually that he's more under pressure from Summers behind than the pressure that he's putting on Diogo Pinto here. But there you go. That's not the checkered flag. That's the white flag. 1 lap remaining here. Pinto's trying to break the draft by weaving down the start-finish straight. And well, this is the time now. Martins and Summers.
Here we go. Is there any challenging towards turn number 1? I don't think there is, as Pinto has to be so careful. As the race leader coming through the first couple of turns here, he almost tracks out wide into the dirt. We continue with the onboard here with Charlie Summers coming into the next couple of corners now, still staying line astern. No one wants to go too early here and mess up their chance of finishing on the top step of the podium. Pinto has the best seat of the house at the moment here, but here come the runs down in towards turn number 5. Still no opportunities for any of these drivers behind. You can see how careful they are. They don't, for example, Charlie Summers doesn't want to go for P2 if it means him losing out on the chance for going for P1 at the moment. So now up the hill for the final time in the Almost Pro 5K event. Charlie Summers gets a very good run coming out of the kink. We might even see 3 wide for the race lead into the corkscrew. I certainly wouldn't put it past them, but there's no room to do so as Martins heads his way down the inside of the first apex, outside of the second, can't carry the speed. Pinto still leads at the moment. Charlie Summers, long way around through the long left-handers. The chances are starting to run out now as Summers still caught in line. And now is there a dive for the final corner from Andre Martins or Charlie Summers? Or is Pinto going to be clear until the end? Pinto leads them into the final corner. Summers looks to the inside on Martins. It'll be a drag race for second coming up the hill and across the line. But Martins has the speed for second. But ahead of both of them, it is Diogo Pinto winning the Almost Pro 5K here in the European division.
And across the line there for 5th place, nothing between them. Emil Bernstorff and Ade Koba Lopez, the 2 that we saw go long in the race there. My goodness, what an exciting end to the race there. That was absolutely brilliant. But, well, tip of the hat, Diogo Pinto, what a drive from him to take it. He had it nice and easy in that opening heat. He didn't have it all his way in this feature race.
He was just fast in all the right places. He didn't give the cars behind an opportunity. He was so good coming off these corners and maintaining the momentum, which is so crucial in these cars. Here are the results then, of course, from the EGX Arena, powered by Virgin Media. This is the 5K Almost Pro event on iRacing. And, well, Diogo Pinto comes home with €2,000. Congratulations to the driver of the number 4 car. Andre Martins with a tidy sum, €1,000 for finishing in second place, with Charlie Summers finishing third. He gets himself €750. The entirety of the top 10 do get themselves some form of prize money. Of course, 10th gets themselves €100, so €100 there for Jarl Tien. Everyone else above also gets a bit of prize money, but my word, what an exciting finish to the event there. Pinto able to hold on. There are those drivers that unfortunately finished outside of the prize-paying positions. Jason Cooper just missing out there on €100 by finishing P11. But, oh, Paul, I'm kind of out of breath.
That was brilliant, wasn't it? That was a great race. It had that intrigue there of the strategy of not being able to quite go the full length on a tank of fuel. And, well, it paid out for Diogo Pinto, Andre Martin, a Portuguese 1-2, don't forget as well. So great for the country of Portugal. They'll be out celebrating tonight in the city of Lisbon, really drumming up the support of their fellow countrymen. But yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff to see that. And this Formula V just keeps on giving. It brings tremendous racing, tremendous action. And the best thing is, if you're new to iRacing, or if you're thinking of joining iRacing, head over iRacing.com/membership, get yourself 40% off a new membership, and you can drive this car. You can race this car at this very venue. Sign up, iRacing.com. Come join us. You might see me on track as well. Try and avoid me, will you?
Yeah, you had to put that in there, didn't you, Paul? As, trying to save your races, making sure that you're taking the workload off of Nim Cross, who's our resident steward here on iRacing. But there we go. That's all you need to know about the promotion. But what a fantastic event that we've had here as part of the EGX Arena, powered by Virgin Media. You know, they've hosted an absolutely fantastic event so far. It's a pleasure for us here at iRacing to be able to contribute a couple of races to the event here. But that's not all the races that we have, remember. We've had this EU event, but now we head to the North American event a little bit later on at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be a different kettle of fish, Paul.
Yeah, I tell you what, they've got a tough task to follow with that one, that's for sure. They really are, because it's hard to match what we've just seen out there. Brilliant stuff. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've thoroughly enjoyed this whole event. I'll look forward to watching that race later on.
Well, that's it from us as far as the EU division is concerned of this Almost Pro 5K. But don't go away, because we have the North American Almost Pro 5K coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern. Same place, of course, here on the PAX Arena channels, and of course on the iRacing channels as well. My name's been Connery Maddock. I've been joined by the absolutely wonderful Paul Smith here. And, well, we'll see you at some point in the future. But stay tuned for that NA event.
Okay.